This is Miss Chandler. This is our principal at Weldon Elementary. And I have the pleasure of interviewing her today to gain some knowledge for the Instructional Leadership Program. So I'm just going to start in.
Okay.
I'm going to take notes while you talk.
You move that paddle out of your way.
Here, it's over there. Okay. So the first question is the impact that your position as a principal plays within the classroom on an academic level.
My role as far as academics, I have to have a broad understanding of the course of study standards, but my main role is to make sure that I have people in place who are going to do the best job to cover those standards. And the way I keep up with this, which you are aware with, is by checking lesson plans, making sure grades are put in the computer, observing in the classroom, and it doesn't have to be a 30-minute observation. If I'm in there 2 or 3 days a week and I'm in there for 3 or 4 minutes, you can get a good grasp of what's going on in the classroom just by being in there. If I go into a classroom 3 or 4 times and every time I go in there, the teacher's sitting behind the desk and the students are working or talking or something like that and they're not involved with the teacher, then you know there are some issues there. But if you go in and the teacher is behind her desk, but she's communicating and working with the kids, then you know they're getting something or getting what they need.
Okay.
So,
All right. How do you perceive your managerial task as having an impact on how student achieves success within the school daily? And that means like discipline, lunchroom duty, car, bus. How do you manage all that, and how does it connect with student achievement academically?
Okay, the best thing about my position is I get to delegate some of those things. So some of that is handed off to other people. As far as academically, we want to cut down as much time as possible of students being out of the classroom. So if we have good things in place as far as classroom management and things along those lines, then the kids are going to be in class more and be there for that instruction. You know, a lot of these kids want to get out of instruction because they don't want to do it. It's hard for them, they're butting their head into the wall, so they do things to get out of the classroom.
Who do you share the schedules with, mostly?
Which, like the after-school duty kind of things, the person who's usually oversee it, which this year was Deidre Williams, she's our librarian, and it's better to have someone who's not in a homeroom position because they have a little more flexibility because they don't have students all the time. So it's good to get somebody like that, or Miss Boyer, who's our instructional specialist as far as reading goes. Those are the kind of people that you would like to have in place for that. As far as discipline, it's Mr. Weathers, the assistant principal.
Okay. How does, let's see if I can word this correctly. How does principalship works in concert with the assistant principal to achieve the vision and the mission of the school? I guess more of your relationship. How do y'all work together to make sure that the vision is met and the goals are met?
We have to be on the same mission and we have to have the same plans. We have to work together on just about everything we do. We come together and meet and discuss who's going to do what, separate different things out and go from there. Even in the interview process, I have an idea of what I want for the school. And so those are the kind of things that you take into consideration when you're interviewing prospects for assistant principal as well.
Because I know that Mr. Weathers said y'all think a lot on the same
We do.
base, and
We
y'all
have a
have a
lot
lot
of
of the same ideas, so that makes it easier, I
It
guess.
does,
for
it makes it a
communication.
lot easier.
Okay. How is your role as principal, how has it evolved from when you first entered education as a teacher?
We have to do a lot more as far as instructional leadership goes. Previously, it was more you fix the schedule, or when I was a special ed teacher, it was, they did the master schedule for the most part. They dealt with discipline with, they used to call it books, butts, and buses. That was their main thing. And so now we deal more with instructional leadership and making sure that we're meeting those academic goals and teachers are in place who can meet those goals.
So more of just facilitating leaders within the school.
Like you.
Okay. What role should a principal play in professional development for his or her staff, especially as it relates to the assistant principal?
Since we are so much alike, he and I have a lot of the same strengths, so that's tough. Let's see, what role? The first thing we have to do is we have to look at what your needs are. When you guys do those self-assessments, we take those and we pull a report from that and look at the basic overall needs of the school. And that's where we try to pull our professional development in. And then sometimes there are specific teachers who need certain professional development that others may not need. Say one or two may need classroom management and everybody else doesn't need that. So then I'm gonna pull Mr. Weathers aside and he could do some professional development with those teachers, or we could send them somewhere. We try to split it based on where we're comfortable as far as he and I are concerned, and that's where it gets tough because we're both very similar. One of the things that he'll be working on is confrontation. That's not something that he likes. So anything that's going to be confrontational, that's usually something that I will take that key role in.
So it's basically just whatever your personality meets to whatever the goal is for the.
And he really
teachers.
enjoys data. So if he wants to do data, he can take that and run with it. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Okay, so what aspects of being a principal needs to be improved upon in order to make the position more instructionally based in implementation?
We would need more people.
He said the same thing, more time management is what he said. He said there's just
More
not
time
enough
and more
time.
people. It just takes a lot of time to do all the managerial things when it comes to attendance and residency and classroom discipline and teachers and attendance. And, I mean, when you get everything together, there's just not enough hours in a day or not enough people to give us more time in the classrooms. It's hard to be in the classrooms when you have an angry parent in the office wanting to see you, you know, so just more time.
You really just need to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay, well, that's all I have. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.